I'm with Legal Graphicworks, and I wanted to show you some business litigation graphics. Here are a few different examples of graphics that you can use in business litigation cases where you may not necessarily be thinking about using a graphic. This particular one is an ownership chart. So you can see what companies were owned and the dates in which that ownership might have changed. We can use the logos, which makes it really easy to recognize who the owner of the company is and the percentage of that ownership. So this is just a really nice timeline to show who owned what when. It can be particularly useful if you're looking at who was liable for any kind of acts that occurred at a certain period of time, or if you want to show, what company filed for bankruptcy and how that affected the ownership or liability. And I just think it's a really nice graphic. The movement is great, and it makes a complex thing really easy to understand. These are just a few different graphics that can walk you through how to incorporate movement and highlighting into spreadsheets. And, obviously bar charts, things like that can sometimes be, a little bit drier, and this helps bring some of these things to life. You can add call outs, you can compare things side by side, you can show all of these things that can be a little bit more complex, but do it in a way that allows people to follow along with what you're saying, as well as understand things a little bit clearer. This particular case, we wanted to be able to highlight certain things, but also keep people following along and add call outs and all of that good stuff. So I'm also going to walk you through, this is a player's chart similar to the ownership chart, but it's great for a situation if you want to show who the people involved in the case were and what role they played. It can be also used in employment litigation cases, who worked for what company, what role they had, how they may have changed roles, all of that good stuff. We also like to use the pictures of the people, which I think is a great touch that you don't necessarily think about, especially if that person's going to be a witness later on, or just to remind who they were and what they did. You can also show if someone changed roles by, changing out the picture and the name and all of that. These are some change order graphics that we used in a construction litigation case, but they can be good for any kind of contract case where you want to show that you had some original language and maybe that language was changed on a specific date and how that might have affected, what you were doing going forward. So obviously any case that involves a lot of contracts, this is a great way to do it as a build and show the different language of the contracts and how that might affect price or players or ownership going forward. And this is a timeline, and you may have seen it in some other videos, but what I like about it is you can click on the date and then you can go directly to the document and you can have a call out pre-prepared and then you can go right back to your timeline. These are super useful for mediation or any kind of oral argument. If you want to have your documents ready, you can also turn on and off certain portions. So you can click on it. You can show, what one owner or subcontractor did, what another did, different insurers, all of that good stuff. The last one I want to walk you through, this was a very complex contract case, and it had some very specific language in it about how different shipments were supposed to be executed and how that might affect pricing depending on how those shipments were executed. So we wanted to provide an actual visual showing, the two different methods that you could ship these items, what that looks like in actual practice, and then how that affects price. So we could show this through these really great moving graphics and still keep it sophisticated. This is, how the shipment might affect customer A. This is how it might affect customer B, depending on how the shipments were executed. And again, how that would affect price, how that affects timing of the shipments. All of these important things that were really critical to the particular contracts at issue. What the steps were, how that changes depending on, which method you're using. All of those good things were very important to be able to illustrate. So I think we did a really nice job just distinguishing the two methods specifically.